Hey guys, we caught up with one of my heroes, Brent Lewis. He's an 11-time NFR qualifier and basically defined as the word cowboys. All right, Brent, when was the first year you made the finals?
1991. I was 21 years old and a rookie that year, and it was the very most exciting thing in my life ever, probably. I think.
So you went on to make them 11 times. What was your best year that you think you look back on and was proud of?
You know, probably the best year is in 2000. I set a mounting earnings record up there at Vegas. I didn't win the world. I was a reserve world champion, but I hadn't. The funny thing about that year is I didn't go to but like 38 rodeos, and just had a good year, a good horse, and I got up there and got on a roll, and it was like you dream about roping. You know, it was clear and my mind was good and I drawed good, and it was a good roping.
So what makes you tick? I mean, you look to as one of the original cowboys that's ever rodeoed.
I'm kind of like old Hawkeye said in that song, what do you like about a cowboy's way of life? Every damn thing, also, I like her all. I grew up as a little kid on a ranch. My dad was a cowboy and I was around cowboys, and that's all I've ever wanted to be. And to this day, that's what I wanted to be. You know, I wanted to ride bad horses and rope anything that walked, and I just enjoy that. I like to hunt, and I like to be in the outdoors, and I'm still that way.
So we haven't seen you for several years, but now you're back chasing the steer roping finals.
Yeah, I've been steer roping here for 2 or 3 years now, probably 4, and just kind of got to where I could rodeo a little bit again, got my kids up, and enjoyed it. Miss seeing everybody, you know how it is. When you rodeo for a living as long as I did, all your pals and your best friends rodeo and are at different places that you go during the year, and when you go home you just don't see them, and it's been really good. I enjoy the steer roping. It's challenging. I'm not that good at it. I got to make the finals last year. It's a frustrating event, but it's something that I can do. I can still train horses at home and be a cowboy, and then in the summer I can be gone a couple months out of the year and still be successful. Steer roping finals is really good now, and so that helps your income. And
so you trained a lot of horses. Did you train this steer roping horse?
You know, I've got one I trained, and I bought one from a guy, an older horse, and I've got one at home that I'm training. Yeah.
Of all the calf roping horses you trained, which one you look back on is kind of your favorite?
My dad and I trained the horse Grumpy. Everybody knows Grumpy. Grumpy's way more famous than I am, and everybody loved Grumpy. He was the best horse.
What do you think made him better? So good.
He was one of those horses, and you talk to cutters, cow horse guys, anybody. That horse, anybody could have trained him. I'd like to sit here and tell you that I was a great horse trainer, but that horse, he was natural. He understood it. He was just one of them good ones, and I probably learned more about training horses from that horse and that feel and what I wanted and what made me win than any horse ever. I was real fortunate to have 2 horses. Buster Record trained a horse called Malachi, was horse of the year when I owned him. I had him my rookie year and for several years there, and I had a little yellow horse the same time that come right out of Mexico. It was a ranch horse and a calf horse, and those were really good horses. I didn't train them, but I was lucky to own them, and of course they made a living for me.
Where did you find Grumpy? How old was he?
Grumpy was a weanling colt. I was up there going to school at Portales in college and working at the sale barns, and they had a sale one day, just a cow sale, and they unloaded these 2 coming yearling colts, and they come off the ranch at San Juan, New Mexico. Didn't know much about them. One of them actually had a breeder certificate, and one of them didn't. They were 7/8 brothers. So what that means is they were out of the same stud, and they were bi-full sisters. And I bought them colts and papered Grumpy, and he was a appendix bred horse, which means he's thoroughbred there on one side. And he was as good a colt as I've ever started. And the other one was just as sorry. The other one looked a little better at that time, but was mean and didn't want to do nothing, and he never made nothing. So it was a lucky deal. I give 180 bucks for Grumpy. I give 90 bucks for his brother, and had him around there for a long time. When I come home from the finals one year, I can't remember, I started that colt, and then Dad rode him on the ranch some while I was gone rodeoing, and then we started roping calves on him, and I think I took him to the finals the first time when he was 5 years old.
No
And
kidding.
I think I rode him halfway through that year and switched horses.
So looking back over the years of rodeo, who was some of your favorite traveling partners?
One of my favorite was Jerry Deston. He was positive, he was fun, and I didn't really go with him there. We kind of went together at times, but when I got married, Jerry come to me and says, "Hey, let's rodeo," and it was the best. He was positive, had the greatest attitude, and he helped me because I didn't have a good attitude. I had a temper, and I dwelled on things in the past like lots of guys will do, and he would laugh at me, and it was good. I rodeoed Joe Bieber a little bit my rookie year in James Annet, and that was a good experience. You know, Joe, he gave me a hard time, but it was good, and I learned a lot. Joe was a great winner, but those guys were the best. I enjoyed. A guy that never made the finals was Carter Edmondson.
Oh, yeah.
And, he could rope, and I don't know what it was between us, but when he'd get in the truck, I'd go to win him. And he didn't necessarily. He was probably better off to be without me, but it was good for me. And I don't know. He was one of those guys that you could feed off of.
He's a great guy.
Great athlete, great person. And,
Roped really good.
I always did really good with him.
Yeah, it's funny. There's so many people out here that have the talent. They just never had quite the
Yeah,
breaks.
and that's all it is. I know guys personally that rope better than I ever did, and you've never heard of them.
Yeah.
And it's good people, and it's just, I don't know. There's something about rodeo. You know, you've seen it.
You got
and
valleys
it's hard to
and-
explain.
You got a favorite quote or kind of anything you live by?
I'm going to tell you what I live by, and I'm not the best guy in the world, but I try to be a good guy, and I try to be honest, and all you got your word, and if you say you're going to do it, then by golly, do it, and do it the best you can do it. And when you're done, if it don't work, you don't need to be sick about it, because if you give it your all, and you're honest about things, it'll work.
So explain the steer roping. You go to how many rodeos? How many steer ropings do they have?
You know, I'd have to look. I think there's probably 60-something steer ropings. We've got a new deal here the last couple of years that they've added a standalone. And what that is for a place to do that, they have to add 10,000, and the fees are big. They're 800 to 1,000, and it's just a steer roping event, and it counts. But there's probably 60 rodeos. I think last year I went to 30. And I barely made them. You know, I think last year was the first year it really went up in money. I won 37,000 something in the regular season and was 13th, but just barely. And the guys are tough. It's like any event in rodeo now. Everybody works at it, and they got good horses, and it's very competitive.
What's the biggest pay in steer roping right now?
San Antonio,
They really
Cheyenne.
jumped up about 4 or 5 years ago.
And yeah, and I've been there maybe a couple years more than that. And it's just come along, and it adds the same as the regular rodeo, and it's a really good rope.
What kind of ropes are you using in steer roping?
I use Infinitive ropes. I had been using, it's a new deal. JoJo Lamont and Ben Fisher own the company, and they're the greatest ropes ever. They make nylons. They got the best feeling nylon rope you ever felt. I use polys. I rope calves with their polys and trip steers with them, and they're really good ropes. I don't know what they do different. I don't care, but they sponsor me. They're great guys, and they're the best.
Brand new company, right?
Brand new company, just started this year. They've got their hand in a little bit of saddle making and stuff, make a beautiful saddle. You can get on the internet, Infinitive Ropes, and they'll be, like I talked to some Western stores around that's going to start holding them, and I think you can get them about wherever, here pretty quick, yeah. But if you can't find them, get on the internet, Infinity Ropes, and
Or go tackle JoJo?
JoJo Lamont, Vin Fisher.
Okay.
They'll get you set up.
So you're a hero to many. Who's some of your heroes?
I got a lot of heroes. My dad and some guys I grew up with up there in New Mexico in them old mountains that nobody ever heard of. There's a guy named Dub Cox. He was a real cowboy, and he could do it in the arena too. And so I got a lot of heroes.
You got any cowboy stories?
I'll tell you one quick story. I think it was 91 or 92. I made the finals, and we were there at the ranch practicing, and it'd probably been 30 years since he tied a calf down. And he wears his pliers on his belt, and so he can fix things, and he come over and is watching. And a lot of times he wears Brogan shoes. He's always had a real good cow horse. Like when I talk about a cow horse, a horse that you can cut on, sort pairs, whatever. I said, why don't you run down? I was running down the rope tying. I believe I will, he says. So, I mean, the first time he runs down the rope, it's like, he's probably over 60 at the time and just spits one out. And he's just an impressive guy. My dad was the same way for a long time. My dad never had a card. He had a permit some, an amateur a little, but he had that little ranch and was busy. He made me what I am. And he took time out of his day, and he made it to where I never felt bad about being gone. When we were home, I worked. But he really was good about, here, when you go rodeo, go do the best you can do. And it wasn't the financial help. There was none of that, but it was here. You can do it. You know, we built them horses at home, and if we didn't have a good enough one, we'd trade up or sell that one and buy a better one and train what we could. But it was good.
Yeah, looking back in your career, you know, you might not have pulled up in the fanciest rig. You know, when we first started, we didn't have
Absolutely.
nothing. But we always tried to have one of the best horses there.
Absolutely.
And that's a big thing in rodeo. You see, you go to some rodeos, you know, and they got a fancy rig and stuff like that. And they don't have much to pull out of it. So at this level, high power
and I don't
horse.
care who you are, or how good you rope or bulldog. You're just another bulldogger or calf roper or steer roper. And that horse is what makes a difference. And I can look back at my career over the years, and when I had that horse, I was way up there. I was always a contender. When I didn't, yeah, I could make the finals. But so many people I hear today say, you can't afford a good horse. Because they do cost a lot. But I'll tell you what you can't do. You can't afford not to have a good horse. Don't care what they cost. If you're going to be in this event, sell your fancy rig, buy a horse and jump in with somebody, you'll be successful. If you put your time in it. That's the thing I like about rodeo is it's all on you. It ain't team.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, there's guys that help you, and it is a good team, but how much time did I put in this event when I was at home, when everybody wanted to go do this or that, and I stayed here and tied calves or whatever the case may be? It's all on me.
Yeah, that's impressive. You know,
I want to outwork
That's what
you.
makes you.
Absolutely.
And you can't farm without a tractor.
That's exactly right. Absolutely.
Hey, this is Casey Jones. We've been working real hard on creating all the content for these last few videos. If you would help us out, please go to youtube.com, search for Rodeo Sports Promotions, and click on the link subscribe. And if you're already on YouTube, just hit the subscribe button. Thanks.